The auction hall floated in the heart of the bustling space station, a vast structure that glimmered under artificial lights and reflected the stars outside. Thousands of beings had gathered from hundreds of star systems. Aliens of every shape, color, and size crowded the platforms, hovering in levitation pods or walking on spindly legs. The air buzzed with excitement and fear. Today was no ordinary auction. Today, the rarest, most dangerous prize in the galaxy would be presented. The doors to the hall opened with a metallic hiss, and silence swept across the crowd. All eyes turned to the center platform, where a figure stepped into the spotlight. She moved like a predator, each step precise, controlled yet fluid. Her skin shimmered under the lights with a faint crimson glow. Her hair was dark, falling in waves that hid part of her face, but her eyes pierced through the crowd like twin red suns. She was tall, strong, and undeniably beautiful, but there was something dangerous in her presence, sharpness that made even the bravest pause. Whispers raced through the audience. "That's the wild vampire woman?" one voice said. "They say she has defeated entire squads of mercenaries on her own." "She escaped 5 masters in the last century," another whispered. "She cannot be controlled." The auctioneer, a 3-armed alien with green-mottled skin and a voice that boomed across the hall, stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, beings of all forms," he said. "Today, we present a prize unlike any other. A warrior, a survivor, a legend. The wild vampire woman is here. Who dares bid for her?" The crowd shifted nervously. There was a pause, and then another. The beings who had come prepared to spend millions of credits suddenly found themselves frozen with fear. Not a single hand moved. Some took a step back, some exchanged worried glances. Fear had a strong presence in the hall. The vampire woman's eyes swept over them. She did not speak. She did not plead. She did not bow. She only waited, her expression unreadable, yet charged with silent power. Minutes passed, and still no one dared. The auctioneer's voice grew more urgent. "Do I have a bid? 1 credit, 10 credits, 100? Any offer at all?" A low murmur ran through the audience. The whispers were thick with tension. No one wanted to be the first to face her fury, the first to attempt to claim her as their own. Some had seen her strength firsthand. Others had only heard stories. All feared the consequences of being wrong. And then, from the far corner of the hall, a hand rose. It was small, almost insignificant compared to the towering figures around it. It was human. A single human man, standing with calm and steady posture, raised his hand slowly. The hall froze. The lights seemed to dim for a fraction of a second, as if the universe itself wanted to see what would happen next. A gasp echoed through the room. Aliens whispered to each other in astonishment. Humans were rare here, and even rarer were those brave enough to challenge the most. Dangerous creatures in the galaxy, the auctioneer's 3 arms trembled slightly as he leaned closer to the microphone. "A human dares to bid?" he stammered. His eyes flicked to the vampire woman, who tilted her head and regarded the human with a strange mixture of curiosity and amusement. The man did not flinch under her gaze. He met her eyes evenly, without fear. He was not tall or muscular like the other alien bidders. He did not have the flashing weapons or shimmering armor that the others relied on. He had only a quiet confidence and a calm voice. "I bid," he said simply. His voice carried across the hall, clear and steady. "I bid for her." Murmurs turned to chatter. "Why would a human bid for her?" one alien asked. "Do you not know what she is?" "She will destroy him," another replied. "No one can control her. No one survives her wrath." The vampire woman's eyes narrowed. She took a step closer to the edge of the platform, studying him. Her gaze was intense, almost hungry. "Interesting," she said softly, her voice smooth and melodic, yet carrying a hint of danger. "A human, daring to stand before me. Most others flee at the first glance. Why do you not fear me?" The human did not smile, nor did he hesitate. "Because I do not see you as a threat to be feared," he replied. "I see you as someone who deserves respect, not ownership. I respect strength and freedom." A ripple ran through the audience. Never had a human spoken to a wild vampire in such a way. Most would have begged for mercy or offered treasures and weapons. This human offered something entirely different. The auctioneer regained his composure and gestured dramatically with his 3 arms. Very well. The bid stands. One human offers to claim the wild vampire woman. Who raises higher? Silence fell again. Aliens who had been ready to spend fortunes now shook their heads. No one dared. Some even quietly exited the hall, unwilling to risk a confrontation with the legendary figure. The vampire woman watched the human carefully. Her lips curved into a faint smirk. "You are different," she said. Her eyes glimmered with intrigue. "I have never seen a human like you. Most are weak, timid, or foolish. You are none of these." "I am not foolish," the human said calmly, "and I do not wish to own you. I only wish to understand you, to see your strength, and perhaps to share in it." A ripple of shock spread through the audience. Share in it? Humans were known for cleverness, resourcefulness, but they rarely ventured to deal with beings like her on equal terms. Everyone in the hall had assumed she would break the human, as she had broken so many others before him. Yet here he stood, unbroken, unafraid, and respectful. The auctioneer's voice finally rang out, cutting through the whispers. "Then the bid stands. One human, the wild vampire woman, shall be claimed by him unless a higher bid appears." No one moved. The silence in the hall grew heavy. The vampire woman tilted her head, her eyes locking with the human's. For the first time in decades, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: interest, curiosity, perhaps even a spark of amusement. She stepped down from the platform, letting her gaze sweep across the crowd before returning to the human. "Most would run," she said. Her voice was quiet now, more intimate than commanding. "Most would tremble and beg. You do neither. You are not afraid, human, that is." The human nodded slightly. "I am not here to fight you, nor to own you. I am here to offer a chance and opportunity to be seen as you are, not as a weapon or a prize. You are free to choose. I will not force you." The vampire woman studied him for a long moment. The audience held their breath, sensing the tension between them. In that silence, it seemed as if the galaxy itself paused to watch. Finally, she stepped closer. Her long fingers brushed against the edge of his cloak. Not a threat, but a gesture of acknowledgement. "Perhaps this human is not like the others," she murmured, more to herself than to him. "Perhaps I will see what makes him bold enough to stand before me." The auctioneer's gavel came down. "Then it is settled. The human shall claim the wild vampire woman." The hall erupted in gasps, murmurs, and disbelief. Some applauded, though cautiously. Others whispered predictions of doom. But the human simply stood calmly, meeting the vampire woman's gaze. She let out a soft, almost amused sigh. "Very well, human. Let us see what you are capable of. Perhaps you are the first to understand that power is not only about fear or strength, but about courage, respect, and wit." The human nodded once. "Then we shall see together." And so, the auction of shadows ended with the galaxy watching in awe. A human had dared where no one else would. A wild vampire woman had finally found someone bold enough to raise a hand, and the first spark of a new journey was lit. The auction hall had emptied faster than anyone expected. Whispers of shock and disbelief lingered in the air like smoke. Some aliens muttered warnings to one another. Others laughed nervously, unable to believe that a single human had dared what no one else would. The vampire woman, however, followed the human quietly, her steps silent, almost floating. Her eyes still glowed faintly red, reflecting the lights above. She had been brought here as a prize, yet she had never imagined that someone would meet her gaze without fear. The human led the way through the corridors of the space station. He moved with calm confidence, not a trace of arrogance, but with a steady determination. His name was Kale, a traveler from a distant human colony. Known for his intelligence and courage, but never for wealth or power. Most aliens did not even know humans could survive on worlds like his. let alone stand against the galaxy's most dangerous beings. Yet Kale was here, leading the wild vampire woman away from the auction floor. Her curiosity barely contained, so she said finally, her voice smooth like silk but sharp as a blade, "You do not fear me, human." "Why?" Kale glanced at her, his eyes calm. "Because fear does not help anyone," he replied simply. "I have faced danger before, and I have survived. I do not see you as a weapon to control. I see you as someone strong and capable. I respect that." The vampire woman studied him carefully. Few words had ever been spoken to her in this way. Most beings either offered treasures, threats, or begged for mercy. Kale offered only understanding. Her lips curved slightly in what might have been the beginning of a smile. "Interesting," she said. "Very few humans speak like that. Most are weak, frightened, or foolish. You are none of these?" Kale shrugged lightly. "I am not fearless," he said. "I only try to see what is in front of me, not what others tell me to fear. That is how I survive." For the first time in her life, the vampire woman felt a flicker of curiosity not mixed with suspicion or anger. She had spent decades in chains, in fear, or in battle. Yet this human stood calmly beside her, his gaze steady and his mind clear. It was new. She allowed herself a small thought. Perhaps it was worth watching. The corridors of the space station were narrow and dimly lit. Shadows danced on the walls from the glowing panels overhead. Aliens glanced at them as they passed, some with surprise, others with disbelief. Whispers followed them wherever they went. "The human claimed her," one said. No one else dared. They entered a small chamber prepared for the human's temporary residence. Kale stepped inside first, gesturing for her to enter. The vampire woman paused, then moved in silently, her eyes scanning the room for potential dangers. She did not find any threats, and yet she remained alert. "I do not wish to be caged," she said suddenly, her voice low. "Do not mistake your victory as control." Kale nodded. "I would not," he replied. "I do not want to control you. I only want to travel with you, to learn from you, and perhaps to share some of what I know." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Share with me. Humans are small, weak, fragile. What could you possibly share with me that I do not already know?" Kale smiled faintly. "Perhaps nothing," he said. "Or perhaps a way to survive without being feared. A way to face the galaxy without always fighting. You have strength, yes, but not everything can be solved with strength alone." The vampire woman tilted her head, intrigued. She had never been offered a choice, never been treated as anything other than a prize or a threat. Yet here was someone who recognized her power without trying to take it from her. She allowed herself to speak more than she usually would. "Most who claim to be brave are fools," she said. "They die quickly. Why would you risk yourself?" Kale looked at her evenly. "Because some risks are worth taking," he said. "I do not fight for power or for wealth. I fight for understanding, for connection, for what is right. I see that you have been treated unfairly for far too long. I do not wish to be like those who harmed you." She studied him in silence. Her red eyes seemed to burn a little brighter, reflecting both curiosity and caution. She could sense that his words were not empty, that his intentions were true. "And what if I choose to leave?" she asked quietly. "What if I grow tired of this human and strike?" Kale did not flinch. "Then you leave," he said simply. "I cannot stop you, but I hope you will not." A faint smirk appeared on her lips. "You are unlike any human I have ever met," she said. "I cannot remember the last time someone offered respect instead of fear." The hours passed as they talked, and Kale learned more about her than anyone else had dared to ask. He listened to her stories of battles, escapes, and survival. He asked questions, not to challenge her, but to understand. The vampire woman, in turn, listened to him speak of human worlds, of struggles and ingenuity, of hopes and dreams. He did not boast of wealth or skill, yet his mind was sharp, his courage steady. By the time the space station's twin moons reflected a pale light through the windows, the vampire woman realized something. She had not felt curiosity or calm in centuries. Most who approached her were afraid or foolish. But this human? He made her wonder what else existed beyond fear and battle. The next day, the station authorities allowed them to prepare for departure. The vampire woman had been cautious, testing him with small challenges, speed contests, strength tests, and mental puzzles. Kale had met each challenge with calm ingenuity, never underestimating her power, never showing fear. In every test, he proved resourceful, clever, and patient. She found herself respecting him more with each passing hour as they stepped onto the platform to board Kale's small starship. The crowd watched in awe. The human who had dared to bid for the wild vampire woman was leading her away not as a master, but as a partner. The whispers turned into excited chatter. Perhaps humans are not as weak as we thought, some said. He has survived, and the vampire woman follows him. The vampire woman glanced at Kale as they entered the ship. "Do you know," she said softly, "that you have changed my perspective in just one day?" Kale looked at her with calm eyes. "I only respect what is true," he said. "I do not change you. You choose your path. I only walk beside you." A faint smile crossed her face. "Perhaps. You are the first human I can tolerate." The engines of the starship hummed, and the ship lifted from the space station. Outside, stars stretched into streaks of light as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, filled with unknown threats and powerful beings. Yet in that moment, the vampire woman felt something she had not felt in decades: curiosity and trust. Kale's hand rested lightly on the control panel, his eyes scanning the holographic maps of the stars ahead. He did not speak much, yet every action reflected thought, caution, and intelligence. The vampire woman watched him quietly, noticing small details: the way he thought ahead, the way he anticipated danger, the way he remained calm even in tense moments. This human, she thought silently, is unlike anyone else. He is small, yes, but he is clever. Perhaps humans are more than I ever imagined. Hours turned into days as they traveled through uncharted regions of space. Kale shared knowledge of human survival tactics, resource management, and negotiation strategies. The vampire woman began to realize that strength alone was not always the key to survival. Strategy, patience, and intelligence were equally important, and this human had all three, in ways she had never seen before. One evening, as the twin suns of a nearby star system set, painting the ship's cabin in hues of orange and purple, the vampire woman spoke quietly. "I do not understand humans completely," she admitted. "You are fragile, yet you survive. You are weak in body, yet strong in mind. You are small, yet you can stand where many giants would fall. How do you do this?" Kale looked at her calmly. "We adapt," he said simply. "We learn. We do not fear challenges. We respect strength, and we try to find balance. That is why I am here, and why I do not fear you." The vampire woman regarded him thoughtfully. "Perhaps. There is more to humanity than I have believed," she murmured. "Perhaps. This human is the first I will follow willingly, not because I must, but because I choose to." Kale smiled faintly. "Then let us see what the galaxy holds for us," he said. "Together." And so, as the stars stretched endlessly before them, a new journey began. A human had dared to claim the wild vampire woman not as a prisoner, but as a partner. The galaxy would watch, and perhaps for the first time, it would see that courage, respect, and intelligence could bind beings together in ways no fear or force ever could. The starship glided through the dark expanse of space, its engines humming quietly as it traveled between star systems. Kale sat in the captain's chair, his hands resting lightly on the controls, while the wild vampire woman, known to few as Celira, moved silently through the cabin. Her eyes still glowed faintly red in the dim light, and her movements were graceful, almost predatory. Yet there was no aggression in her actions. For the first time in decades, she was not chained, hunted, or forced. She was free, and yet she had chosen to stay beside a human. Kale glanced at her, noticing the way she studied the stars outside the viewport. You have seen many worlds, he said quietly. Have you ever traveled without someone trying to control you? Solera shook her head. Never, she admitted. I have been owned, captured, or feared for as long as I can remember. Freedom is strange. I do not know how to feel about it entirely. Kale nodded. It is unfamiliar at first, he said gently. But freedom is a gift. You get to choose your path. No one else decides for you. Her red eyes met his, and for a moment neither spoke. Silence stretched in the cabin, filled only by the gentle hum of the starship's engines. She could sense something different about this human. He did not try to impress her, nor did he seek to dominate her. Instead, he offered respect, patience, and understanding. It was unusual, and it made her curious. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. Kale's fingers flew over the controls as he analyzed the readings. Pirates, he said calmly. They are small in number, but they are armed and aggressive. They must have detected our course. Solera's eyes narrowed. Pirates, she repeated. You mean those weak creatures who try to attack travelers for profit? They will learn quickly why no one dares to challenge me. Kale gave her a small, calm smile. Perhaps, he said, but we should not underestimate them. Strategy is better than raw strength alone. Let me handle the navigation. You can handle anything else. Solera tilted her head, intrigued by his confidence. You trust me to fight, she said, but you do not fear me? I respect your strength, Kale replied. Fear does not help us survive. Trust does. Moments later, the pirate ships appeared on the view screen, small, fast, and armed with lasers. Their leader, a towering alien with spiked armor, barked orders through a translator device. Stop your ship and surrender the cargo, he demanded. The vampire woman belongs to me. Solera's eyes glowed brighter and she flexed her fingers, her nails like claws. Do they not know I am free? She muttered. Do they truly believe they can claim me? Kale remained calm. Let us show them why humans are unpredictable, he said softly. Stay close to me. I have a plan. The pirate ships fired their first salvo, sending streaks of energy toward the starship. Kale maneuvered deftly, dodging most of the blasts while keeping the ship steady. Solera moved to the control panel beside him, her movements fluid and precise. She did not touch the controls unnecessarily. Instead, she observed, learning his strategy. One of the pirate ships broke formation and aimed directly at them. Solera's reflexes were lightning fast. She leaped from her standing position, launching herself outside the viewport with her advanced grappling claws. Within seconds, she had disabled the pirate ship, cutting through its engines with precision and speed. Sparks flew as the vessel spun into space. Harmless now. The other pirates hesitated, shocked by the display. None had expected the vampire woman to act with such deadly skill, especially not in coordination with a human who seemed calm and unafraid. Kale seized the moment. Engage the hyperdrive, he said. We need distance. Let them think twice before attacking again. Solera landed back inside the cabin, her movements silent. She regarded Kale with a mixture of respect and curiosity. You did not panic, she said quietly. You remained calm even when I acted. Most humans would have screamed or frozen. Kale shrugged lightly. Panicking rarely helps. I focus on the situation, not the fear around me. For the first time, Solera felt a strange warmth inside her chest. Not anger, but something unfamiliar. Trust, perhaps, or admiration. She had never encountered a human who could remain so calm and collected while facing danger directly. She began to see that there was more to this species than she had assumed. The rest of the journey through that star system was uneventful. The pirates, humiliated and cautious, did not pursue them further. Kale piloted the ship with steady skill, while Solera observed quietly, learning more about his methods. They reached a remote planet where they could rest and resupply. The planet's surface was rugged and covered in dense forests, with rivers of bright blue liquid that shimmered under the sun. It was beautiful, quiet, and peaceful, a rare place to catch one's breath in the vast galaxy. Celira stepped out of the ship first, her movements graceful and powerful. She inhaled the fresh air, feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin. "It is peaceful here," she said softly. "I have rarely seen such a place." Kale followed, smiling faintly. "Sometimes the galaxy has hidden places like this," he said. "Places where we can think, learn, and grow. It is important to find them." They walked together through the forest, the sunlight reflecting off the leaves and casting patterns on the ground. Celira's sharp senses caught every sound, the rustle of small creatures, the distant calls of alien birds, the gentle flow of the river nearby. Kale moved calmly beside her, speaking occasionally about human techniques for survival
Navigation.
and observation. "You are unusual," Celira said after a while. "Most humans are
How weak.
easily frightened, easily manipulated. You are none of these things? Why?" Kale looked at her. "Because I choose not to be. I do not follow the crowd. I face what comes my way, and I think carefully before acting. That is how humans survive harsh worlds. That is how I survive." Celira considered his words carefully. She had never met a human who could match her patience and strategy. Most relied on weapons, brute force, or luck. This human relied on thought, calm, and observation. She began to realize that she could trust him. Perhaps for the first time in her life, they reached a cliff overlooking a vast valley filled with sparkling rivers and forests. The sunlight reflected off the rivers, creating a spectacle of light and color. Celira stood silently, taking in the view. "I have traveled many worlds," she said softly, "and yet I have never seen one so alive." Kale nodded. "The galaxy is full of wonders," he said. "Some we see, some we must search for. But the true wonder is surviving together, learning together, and trusting each other along the way."
Nice.
Celira's eyes softened slightly. "You make it sound simple," she said. "Yet the galaxy is not simple. It is dangerous, cruel, and full of beings who would take advantage of the weak." Kale smiled faintly. "That is true," he said. "But strength is not only about fighting or power. It is about understanding, patience, and respect. That is why I am here. Not to control you, not to claim you, but to walk beside you. Together, we face the dangers." Celira tilted her head, intrigued. She had never met a being who spoke of strength in this way. Most relied on fear, power, or domination. Kale spoke of courage, respect, and partnership. It was different, unfamiliar, yet compelling, as the sun set behind the mountains. Casting long shadows over the valley, Celira realized something remarkable. She had never chosen to follow anyone willingly. She had never felt curiosity, trust, or respect for another being in this way. Yet now, with this human at her side, she felt a spark of connection that was stronger than fear, stronger than power, stronger than anything she had known. "You are unusual human," she said softly. "Perhaps, for the first time, I will follow willingly. Not because I must, but because I choose to." Kale looked at her calmly. "Then let us see what the galaxy holds for us," he said, "together." And so, as night fell over the alien world, the first true bond between human and wild vampire woman began to form, not of ownership, not of fear, but of respect, curiosity, and partnership. The galaxy awaited them, and their journey had only just begun. The starship glided silently through the dark expanse of space, leaving the peaceful forest planet far behind. Kale adjusted the navigation controls, his eyes scanning the holographic maps of nearby systems. Celira stood behind him, her red eyes glowing faintly as she watched the stars stretch into streaks of light during the faster-than-light jump. The silence between them was comfortable, a shared understanding that they could rely on each other. But the galaxy rarely remained peaceful for long. The sensors beeped urgently. Kale leaned forward, analyzing the readings. "Multiple ships approaching fast," he said, his voice calm but alert. "They are not small like the pirates we encountered before. These are organized. Military-grade ships. Salira's eyes narrowed. Enemies, she muttered. They come prepared, expecting a fight. This will be interesting. Kale did not flinch. It will be more than interesting. We need strategy, not only strength. Follow my lead. The first enemy ship fired, sending beams of bright energy toward them. Kale maneuvered the starship with precise control, dodging most of the attacks. Salira moved to the observation panel, her senses sharp and alert. She could sense every movement, every attack, every pattern in the enemy formation. They are fast, but predictable, she said softly. I can help. Kale nodded. Good. We need to anticipate them. Not just survive, but create an advantage. Together they worked as a seamless team. Kale's calm, strategic mind guided the ship through evasive maneuvers. Salira's unmatched agility and intuition allowed her to predict the enemy's attacks and suggest counteractions. The ships surrounding them fired relentlessly. But the combination of human intelligence and vampire reflexes made them a formidable duo. One of the enemy ships tried to flank them, hoping to force them into a corner. Salira's claws scraped against the reinforced viewport. I will take care of it, she said. In a blur of movement, she leaped onto the hull, using her strength and speed to disable the ship's engines. Sparks and energy flared as the vessel spun out of control, harmlessly drifting into space. Kale grinned faintly. Excellent. One down, many to go. The remaining ships hesitated, realizing that their prey was not only skilled, but unpredictable. Kale seized the moment. Prepare for hyperjump, he instructed. We need distance. Draw them into our trap, Salira nodded. Understood. I will cover the rear. They jumped to a nearby asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks and craters. The enemy ships pursued, but Salira's instincts and Kale's calculations gave them the advantage. They dodged, countered, and struck with precision. One by one, the enemy ships fell or retreated, unable to keep up with the combined human-vampire strategy. After the battle, they floated silently in space. The stars reflected in Salira's eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of calm. You are clever, she said softly. I have never met anyone who could match my reflexes and my instincts. And yet, you did. Kale shrugged lightly. Strategy and patience go a long way. Strength is important, yes, but intelligence saves lives. Today we survived because we worked together, not because of raw power alone. Salira regarded him thoughtfully. Humans are unpredictable, she admitted. I have underestimated your species before. Perhaps. You are more than I imagined. Kale smiled faintly. Humans are clever, resourceful, and adaptable. We survive in harsh worlds and against strong enemies. That is why we are still here. That is why I am still here with you. Days passed as they traveled deeper into uncharted space. They encountered hostile alien factions, some attempting diplomacy, others attacking outright. Each challenge tested their skills, patience, and intelligence. Salira began to notice patterns in Kale's behavior, how he observed before acting, how he anticipated danger, and how he respected her instincts instead of overriding them. It was unlike any other human or alien she had encountered. One day, they arrived at a trading outpost on the edge of a dangerous system. The outpost was surrounded by asteroids and partially shielded from view. Kale docked carefully, and Salira followed, moving silently through the corridors of the station. Merchants and travelers glanced at her with awe and fear, but she ignored them. Her attention was on Kale and their mission. A group of mercenaries blocked their path, demanding payment and questioning their purpose. You cannot pass without offering tribute, one growled. Brandishing a weapon, Salira stepped forward, her red eyes glowing. Step aside, she said calmly. You will not threaten us. The mercenaries hesitated, unsure whether to challenge her. Kale stepped beside her, his voice steady. We do not seek conflict, he said. We only wish safe passage. We have the means to pay for supplies, but we will not be intimidated. Consider your options carefully. The tension in the corridor was thick, but neither Kale nor Salira showed fear. Their calm confidence made the mercenaries uneasy. One of them tried to strike Celira, thinking she was vulnerable. She reacted instantly, disarming him with a swift movement and holding him at arm's length. "Do not test me again," she warned. Kale used the moment to negotiate with the others, showing resourcefulness and diplomacy. Within minutes, the mercenaries allowed them to pass, and they received the supplies they needed. Celira watched him quietly, realizing that humans had a different kind of strength, one that combined patience, intelligence, and courage in ways she had never experienced before. Later, as they prepared to leave the station, Celira spoke softly. "I have seen many battles," she said. "Many enemies, many humans, but none like you. You do not rely only on weapons or strength. You think, you plan. You respect those beside you. That is unusual." Kale looked at her calmly. "Strength alone cannot survive in the galaxy," he said. "Strategy, respect, and trust are just as important. You have strength, Celira. I only provide guidance, foresight, and partnership. Together, we are stronger than either alone." Celira considered his words, her red eyes softening slightly. "Perhaps. You are the first human I will follow willingly, not because I must, but because I choose to," she admitted. Kale smiled faintly. "Then let us continue," he said. "The galaxy is vast, and our journey is just beginning." Their starship lifted from the station, engines glowing as they entered open space. The stars stretched infinitely around them, a reminder of both the beauty and the danger of the galaxy. Kale and Celira had faced their first major trials together, and they had survived, not through fear or power alone, but through trust, strategy, and partnership. As they traveled, Celira realized that she had begun to rely on Cal not out of weakness, but out of respect and understanding. He had proven that humans were capable of courage and intelligence, and that even the wildest, most dangerous beings could find allies in unexpected places. Kale glanced at her from the controls, his calm gaze steady. "We have faced danger and survived," he said softly. "But the galaxy will not always be so forgiving. We must continue to learn, to adapt, and to trust each other." Celira nodded, her mind turning over his words. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never experienced: hope. Hope that she could find a companion who respected her, understood her, and would stand by her side, no matter what challenges the galaxy presented. And so their journey continued. Kale and Celira moved forward together, facing the trials of the galaxy with courage, intelligence, and trust. Each challenge brought them closer, forging an unbreakable bond between human and wild vampire woman, a bond that would shape their destiny, and prove that even in the vast, dangerous galaxy, strength was not measured only by power, but by partnership, respect, and courage. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and Kale knew that no matter what lay ahead, he and Celira would face it together. The galaxy had already begun to take notice of the human who dared to claim the wild vampire woman. The partnership they had formed was destined to become legendary. The stars stretched endlessly before Kale's starship as it glided through uncharted space. Celira stood at the observation deck, her crimson eyes scanning the darkness. She had faced countless enemies, survived battles that would have destroyed ordinary beings, and evaded traps set by the galaxy's most cunning hunters. Yet something about traveling with Kale felt different. She no longer felt alone, no longer felt the weight of fear pressing on her shoulders. She felt partnership, trust, and curiosity. Kale entered the observation deck, his calm gaze meeting hers. "We have journeyed far, faced danger, and survived," he said quietly. "But the galaxy still tests us. Our greatest challenge may still lie ahead." Celira turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "I have faced death many times," she said softly, "but with you, I feel prepared. Not because I am stronger, but because we face it together." Kale smiled faintly. "That is the difference," he said. "Strength is nothing without understanding, strategy, and trust. Together, we are stronger than either alone." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Kale's fingers flew over the controls as the sensors registered a massive fleet approaching. The ships were enormous, heavily armed, and moving with deadly precision. Kale's mind raced, calculating odds, plotting maneuvers. And considering the terrain of nearby asteroid fields, Celira's eyes glowed brighter. A fleet, she said. They mean to destroy us, to claim me, or perhaps both. They do not understand that I am free, and I will not submit. Kale nodded calmly. We will face them. But this time, we cannot rely only on speed and reflexes. We need strategy, allies, and precise action. Are you ready? Celera stepped beside him, her confidence radiating like fire. I have never been more ready, she said. They will learn that no human or vampire is ever truly weak. The fleet opened fire, sending beams of energy that illuminated the darkness of space like violent lightning. Kale maneuvered the ship expertly, dodging the attacks while keeping Celera in position to act. She leapt from one part of the ship to another with her supernatural agility, disabling key enemy vessels with precise strikes. Sparks and explosions lit the void as the first wave of attackers fell under their combined assault. But the fleet was relentless. They were prepared, organized, and vastly outnumbered Kale and Celera. One of the larger ships aimed directly at their vessel, charging with incredible speed. Kale's mind raced. We need a diversion, he muttered. Follow my lead. Celera understood instantly. With a nod, she leapt into the hull of the charging ship, using her claws and strength to disrupt its systems. The ship spun out of control, colliding with another enemy vessel and causing a chain reaction. The fleet faltered, giving Kale the opening he needed. Hyperjump in 3, 2, 1. Kale called. The stars stretched into streaks as they leaped into faster-than-light travel. Leaving part of the fleet behind, confused and scattered, Celera landed beside him, her chest heaving slightly, but her eyes still bright with energy. You are clever, human, she said. Not just with your ship, but with your mind. I see why you survived when others would have fallen. Kale gave her a small, calm smile. It is not just me. It is both of us. We survived because we acted together. Strength and intelligence combined. That is how humans endure. That is why I endure. That is why we endure. Days passed as they repaired the ship, resupplied, and planned their next moves. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but Kale's calm mind and Celera's strength made them a formidable team. They traveled to remote systems, sometimes helping local colonies fend off raiders, other times discovering hidden worlds untouched by civilization. Each experience strengthened their trust and bond. Celera began to notice something remarkable in Kale. He was not just brave, he was resourceful, intelligent, and patient. He thought carefully, planned precisely, and respected her instincts. Unlike the others who had tried to dominate her, Kale treated her as an equal. She found herself learning from him, appreciating his strategy, and enjoying his quiet humor. One evening they arrived at a small planet on the edge of known space. Its surface was rough and mountainous, dotted with rivers that glimmered like silver under the twin suns. Celera stood on the observation deck, her eyes absorbing the beauty of the world. It is alive, she said softly. I have never seen a world so full of life and light. Kale joined her, his calm expression reflecting the golden light of the suns. The galaxy has many hidden wonders, he said. Some we find by chance, others we seek deliberately. But the true wonder is surviving together and facing the unknown without fear. Celera considered his words. You speak of strength differently than anyone I have met. Most think power is fear, domination, or violence. You think of patience, understanding, and trust. That is unusual, but effective. Kale's eyes softened. Strength is not measured only by force. It is measured by wisdom, courage, and the ability to protect those who rely on you. That is why I survive and why I trust you. For the first time in decades, Celera felt a sense of belonging. She had never chosen to follow anyone willingly, never allowed herself to trust fully. But with Kale, she did not feel the need for chains, fear, or dominance. She felt partnership, respect, a bond that could survive anything the galaxy might throw at them suddenly. The ship's sensors beeped urgently. Kale analyzed the readings and frowned. A massive battle fleet, he said. They have tracked us. They intend to destroy Asor claim you. Salira's eyes glowed brightly. Then they will learn the truth. I am not a prize. I am free, and they will face consequences if they challenge me. Kale nodded calmly. We will face them together. Not with fear, not with anger, but with strategy and strength combined. Are you ready? I am ready, Salira said, her voice firm and resolute. Let them come. The fleet attacked, their ships firing in synchronized waves. Kale maneuvered the starship with precision, dodging attacks while coordinating with Salira. She leaped into enemy ships, disabling engines, weapons, and navigation systems with her supernatural speed and strength. Sparks flew, alarms blared. Chaos spread through the fleet as they struggled to respond. Kale calculated the enemy formations, using asteroid fields and gravity wells to their advantage. Follow me, he instructed. We will split their forces and strike at the core of the fleet. Salira nodded, trusting his judgment completely. Together, they executed a flawless strategy. Kale's calm intelligence guided the movements of the ship, while Salira's power and agility dismantled the enemy's advantage. One by one, the ships fell, and the fleet's commander, a massive armored alien, realized too late that they had underestimated the human-vampire duo. Impossible, the commander growled. No one can survive this. Salira's eyes glowed brighter than ever. I am not just anyone, she said, her voice echoing through the void. In this human. He is not weak. With a final coordinated strike, the enemy fleet was defeated. Ships fled or surrendered, and the galaxy witnessed the incredible combination of human intelligence and vampire strength. Kale and Salira had proven that courage, strategy, and partnership could overcome any threat. No matter how overwhelming after the battle, the two stood together on the observation deck, looking at the stars. Salira's crimson eyes softened. You have changed the way I see humans, she said. You have shown me that strength is not only about power or fear, it is about courage, understanding, and partnership. Kale smiled faintly. And you have shown me that strength can come in many forms. Together, we are stronger than we ever could be alone. That is why we survived, Dan. That is why we will continue to survive. Salira regarded him for a long moment. Perhaps, for the first time, I will follow willingly. Not because I must, but because I choose to. I trust you, Kale. Kale nodded calmly. And I trust you, Salira. Together, nothing in the galaxy can break this bond. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of both the beauty and the danger of the galaxy. But Kale and Salira no longer feared it. They had faced impossible odds, overcome threats that would have destroyed most beings, and survived through courage, intelligence, and trust. The galaxy would remember this human and the wild vampire woman who had chosen to walk beside him not as a prize, not as a weapon, but as an equal, a partner, and a legend in the making. And so, their journey continued, not just as survivors, but as a testament to the true meaning of strength, courage, intelligence, and the bond between those willing to trust one another against all odds.